everybody. This is Merle's Pearls of Business Wisdom about all things relationship and how they affect the workplace. And by the way, not just the workplace, but we're starting there. And we've got somebody who's an expert there. So that makes sense to me. I want to introduce our guest for this podcast, the lovely Farnia Fresnel, with a master's, a PMP, a PCC. I only read the letters because I'm not sure more. They're impressive, and that's what's important because uh, Farnia has has been a business leader with 100 global business leaders in turn. She took all this business, is this not true, as being a leader in these Fortune 500 companies and said, oh, I think I want to help other people with this. And so you became a coach. I think
Yes.
I think I think how people's lives go is amazing. And what you did with that too, by the way, is you created your own coaching company. So you're not only a coach, you're an entrepreneur.
Yes. Yes.
And so when you are coaching, you have the opportunity to coach not from what you've learned from various theories, but what you've learned from your own life and
Mhm.
how you can use it in business and how people can be entrepreneurial, blah, 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 entrepreneurial, or use it working for other people. So that I think gives you good credits.
Okay. Well, thank you, Merle. Thank you.
And that's what counts, what I think. No, I think yes. So, what aside from your background, what we found that was kind of interesting that you've gotten involved in currently is something called uh, EYP.
Hmm.
And EYP is exceed your potential.
Hmm.
That sound right there, it sounds good. So, I mean, it does. It's in a sense, how can you exceed your potential? I mean,
Yeah. Merle,
so
a
tell
lot
us
of
about
people
that.
ask that question. They say, how can you exceed your potential? And what I point out is this. So many of us walk around with these images of who we are, and oftentimes that has been framed based on how we grew up. What did the adults in your life, what did those people in authority, positions of authority, teachers, Girl Scout leaders, whoever they were in your life, how did they see you? And that's oftentimes the impression that we have of ourselves. And we form this perspective about what we're capable of and what people who are like us are able to do. And I say that that is a cup that is of a certain size. So let's just say that that's about 6 ounces. And then the more you live and then the more you fill your cup, you then say, yeah, but I only have this 6 ounces. But in reality, the perception that others have of you is just a small sliver of what you are and who you are and what you're capable of. And so when we're living in the past, we see our potential as this finite cup, let's say 6 ounces. And when you exceed your potential, that's when you expand your perspective and see what you're truly capable of. What are all the resources, all the learning, all the living? What has that empowered you with? And usually that brings you up to a bigger cup, a much, much, much bigger cup. And so we're exceeding the potential of what the original perception was. And your actual potential is so much bigger.
So you're saying it's almost like a visual problem.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
not seeing who you are.
Not seeing who you are.
Hmm. So tell me about why EYP?
So why EYP? So the Lendsurf Group. So my company's name is the Lendsurf Group. And that's exactly what we do is we support leaders and teams in expanding their perspective so that they can make better decisions more sustainably and more often. And why I named it the Lendsurf Group is because, again, it's the lens that you're looking at life, the lens that you're looking at your team, the lens that you're looking at your company through. Um, are you taking opportunity to see the full capacity of wherever you're standing in, whatever space that you're standing in? So, our tagline for the firm is exceed your potential. And so, I think the program that you're referring to is Exceed Your Potential Academy. This year in 2024, we had the privilege of launching Exceed Your Potential Academy, which is focused not at the top tiers of the organization, which is typically where we do our work, but it's focused on that next generation of recruits that are coming into firms globally. Our focus for this pilot was really on local firms in the US and some of the challenges that they're dealing with, namely with integrating interns into the broader organization. And what we specifically looked at was interns of color. This program was focused on students that attended historically black colleges and universities, and their firm supported them in building emotional intelligence through our EYP Academy.
So I think you want to do a little tag and say what you mean by emotional intelligence.
Yeah. Yeah. So often when we are in circumstances, we're in new circumstances, we default to, again, that small lens that we see ourselves through. So in new circumstances, you shrink to whatever you think you should be able to do in this new circumstance. What we know specifically about workplaces today and diversity and what has happened there is when there's change, it doesn't matter what the change is. It could be a person change, it could be an organizational change, it could be any kind of change, that people get anxious and we default to the data brain. What do you already know about this circumstance? And let me rinse and repeat because change might be scary and I may not want to deal with it. So I default to something smaller than myself, or I default to what I already know. What we wanted to do with this particular academy was to support young people coming into the workplace where the workplace may not mold to accommodate you initially, because the workplace has seen when people come in and leave. The workplace is not going to default to mold to you. But we know that when you begin with the individual, when you start with the I and support individuals in achieving greater self-management, so recognizing their impact in their own spaces and taking ownership for that impact, significant things can happen. So we focused our curriculum at EYP Academy in doing exactly that, controlling your ripple and being more intentional about what is possible with your ripple.
So you're saying that the leaders of the company corporation have, with your help, the insight to say it's the people that work for me are not a group; they are a group of individuals.
Absolutely. They're a group of individuals. And what was innovative about this was that their firm saw this potential that, yes, we have programs. We've got a lot of programs out there that we're already doing with teams. We're already doing with, DEI programs. We're already doing training programs. We're already doing leadership programs. There are a lot of programs already happening there. But this was an investment in preparing for next, preparing for what's coming into the workforce and preparing individuals coming in to step into all of what they are, to you not only educate but demonstrate their capacity for more, demonstrate their capacity to be with, demonstrate their capacity to start to build bridges in places that don't historically have bridges.
So tell me more. Well,
So
so I mean, I'm asking because you're being general and specifically, who are they building bridges for? To what are they seeing in terms of people in their company? What pictures or do they have in their head of the people in their company that mm, that they want to help?
Yeah. So you can pick the lens. What this particular organization noticed was the percentage of underrepresented individuals at the firm very low, very, very, very low. And so what happens is during recruiting season, there may be a population of historically underrepresented students that may come in through their internship programs. The probability of those same individuals staying with the firm over time is very low. Why? Because they don't feel supported. There's something that happens once they begin that causes them to disengage. And that causes, as you may know, and I'm sure many of your listeners know, there is a huge price to pay with recruiting. Attracting the right talent, and we're not just talking Bobo talent, we're talking top talent. Attracting top talent and keeping top talent is very difficult. So when you find them, you want to hold on to them. The value that they bring, the insights, the innovation, the willingness to step into spaces, that there's a price tag associated with that. So
Right.
they recognize that there was a loss that was happening because this particular population was not supported. So when you look at the leadership ranks, you don't see leadership that represents those demographics. And
Sure.
so this investment was to start to change the tide with that. What can we do that will support these students in recognizing their power, recognizing their place, and understanding how they might affect, and I call it the ripple, right? How they can begin to cause the ripple.
So, and when you're talking about the ripple, you're talking about the ripple in the ocean when you throw in a
Yeah, you throw a coin. You like I
pebble.
used to do this with friends with just you try to skip a coin on the water,
Right.
and it could just go in and sink, right?
Right.
And no one wants to see that. Not if you're trying to skip a coin. So you're trying to, skip a coin, skip a rock, whatever you want to do on the water. But when you see it skip, or if you put anything in that water, there will be a ripple.
Yeah,
So
you can
when it
just
skips,
throw it
there's
in.
opportunity for multiple ripples. Yes.
You just throw it in, just one thing, and it's still the fun is not just that you've thrown this little stone in. The fun is seeing the ripples as
Hmm.
they just extend out, 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 out. Yes. So that's a good analogy.
And I'd like to say, what this particular organization saw was that so many of the students coming in, they simply came in and they might have sunk to the bottom because they had power, they carried weight, they were capable of extending their impact, extending their knowledge, being a source of innovation. That's why they're recruited. But so many of their recruits were falling to the bottom and not necessarily skipping on to the next space and spreading that innovation, spreading their presence, and contributing in ways that are meaningful, not because they don't want to, but because they're not feeling as if that environment might be one where that's welcome.
So, in other words, and you said it in different words the other day, and I can't find it. But what you said, I thought that was very meaningful, was that it's not enough to give somebody the job, but you need to give somebody the support.
Yeah.
It's not enough to say, here, aren't we terrific? We gave out so many jobs to so many people of every different ethnicity and every kind of thing, and terrific us. But if they don't then say, and here's how you're welcome, and here's what will make you successful here, and here are some ideas that we have that if you integrate them into your work will be helpful to you and will help you move up the ladder.
Mhm.
It's as if that's not done, then these people that you've the company has paid a lot of money to bring in because they're top talent, will feel, well, they may not want me to climb up the ladder.
Yeah, and it's not only about the climb up the ladder. It's if you're welcoming someone into a space, and here we're talking about the lens of diversity, meaning again, the students are from historically black colleges and universities. But we could also be looking at age. In the workplace, that's another thing that a lot of these students will face. They're coming into an established organization, and the perception is, oh, you're young. Your ideas may not be, you don't have work experience. You don't have the same experience. And there's a dismissal that happens there. And with that dismissal comes of shutting down. And this
And then
program, go ahead, sorry.
and there are the other, I will speak from the other side of the room, which is those people that have been in the company for a long time and get, well, what do you know? I mean, it's not like it used to be. It's not, maybe you ought to retire.
Hmm. Hmm.
We have that going in the newspaper today about age, and what part is a good evaluation of somebody's age and what part is ageism.
Hmm.
So it's the same thing with a different group of people.
Exactly. Exactly. Or the same thing with the same group of people, which is it's like a double whammy.
Nobody said it was easy to live with people. Yeah, that's so do you have some particular example of somebody that you noted as being very successful or being a surprise or something uh, uh, noteworthy of a particular individual?
So noteworthy having gone through the program.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we had lots of really interesting stories. There was a student who dealt with a significant crisis at the university that happened. It was published in the newspapers, and the student came to one of our sessions and um, presented that, like, because what we do is we create a safe space for anything
Okay.
that's present can show up, and we work with it. Why? Because this work is about greater self-management, not just in the workplace. Like, you don't learn by saying, okay, when you get to the workplace, this is what's going to happen, XYZ. So it doesn't become something you memorize. That's not how we operate. The work that we do is so that it becomes embodied. So not only are you talking about a circumstance, but you can viscerally feel how you felt during the circumstance and decide, like, come pause and decide, hey, how could this have happened? What could have been different? And so we had this student who was sharing that brought this really challenging circumstance into the space. And it was a little shocking that it came into the space, but it was also beautiful because it was a testament to the trust that we had formed in that space. And when it happened, what he walked away with, he again shared it and really shared it without any hope that it would go anywhere. Like, okay, this happened. Look, let me just toss it in the ring and see what goes down. And within a few minutes, we engaged in an exercise. It's an innovation exercise where the thinking is to generate as many options as possible, and there are no wrong answers. So, how many times in life, Merle, are you offered the opportunity to say whatever you want, and there's no wrong answers? You're never penalized.
In one of those exercises.
And one of those exercises, like, it's a beautiful thing to say whatever you want, and you can't be wrong. You can't be wrong. And for high performing people to be in a space where you're given permission not to be wrong, that's like gold. That's like it's priceless.
Yeah.
So we engaged in this exercise for just a few minutes. It couldn't have been more than 7 or 8 minutes. And in that time, Merle, we generated probably 15 different options on how this same circumstance could have been addressed. And he was overwhelmed. Like, this was a student that he showed up week after week after week and kind of stepped in because he was committed. But it was in that moment that something clicked, and it was very clear that he got it. Like, it doesn't matter how tough it is, there's always a way. There's something that is here that I might be able to use. And in news cycles say it like never waste a good crisis. And it seems a little bit much like never waste a good crisis. Like bad things do happen, right? But never waste a good crisis in that there may be a gift present in any specific crisis. And the responsibility is for the individual to find out what that gift is. And not to use it. We're not talking about being like just use this, use it. No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about how can you not just survive challenging circumstances, but thrive through them. How are you leveling up? No one would question at the end of an academic year if a student was moving from the second to the third grade. You're like, oh, great. Okay, you passed the scholastic aptitude test, whatever that is, right? And now you're moving to the third grade. So, okay, you moved to the third grade. No one would say, oh, no, you have to stay in the second grade, even though you passed the scholastic aptitude, because you're more comfortable in the second grade. No, the encouragement would be to progress. So these types of challenging circumstances that we dealt with during that EYP Academy and that we continue to deal with as we do any leadership program, these types of circumstances are meant to level you up. We can't create them. Like I can't make bad things up. Like it's not like we have a magic bag of bad
Thank
stuff and we throw hey, catch this, death,
you.
destruction, catch this. No, we don't do that. That's not how it works. But life tosses those things our way. And when that happens, the responsibility, each person has a responsibility and the opportunity, more than responsibility, to catch that ball and carry that ball for the next leg of the race. And you can decide how you want to carry it. You can get a, little rolling cart to carry the ball. You can carry it in your arm, which arm might get tired, but there's lots of different ways you can carry that ball, and you are at choice on how that happens. So, so that's an example. He brought a really challenging circumstance. We were able to play a game again, be in fun, yet open up doors of possibility, and that's what our work is about.
And what's interesting is that whatever the trying circumstance is something outside of you,
Mhm.
and that trying circumstance that is outside of you can be, I don't want to say solved, can be dealt with effectively by yourself, by you figuring something out to do.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So many of us say, oh, ah, something has to help me. I'm stuck. I need help. Like concrete's around your feet. I need help. Pull me out. Pull me out. But crying without action is just salty water.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Like crying without actually salty water, yes, this is happening. Yes, it may not feel good. And sometimes it's actually something good that's happening and you still don't feel good because it's oh my gosh, that's too good. How could this be happening to me? I won the lottery. How could this be happening to me? So, right, like that happens too, right?
Yes, yes, yes,
Like,
yes.
oh my gosh, what do I do now? Now I asked for this and now I got it. Okay. Right. But it's how do you want to prepare for it? And I'm kind of jokingly saying it happens with good things too, but that's
Oh,
part of the
it's
work and
true.
that's part of what we do with these students and part of what we do with many of our programs is prepare people even for the best case scenario. Because when we're playing our games and doing whatever activities we do, we also anticipate what can go wrong. And sometimes the what goes wrong is that something goes right. So anticipating what can go right. And if that happens, what
What
am I
we
going to
do,
do viscerally? Like, am I going to be scared of it? And if I'm scared of it, how do I remind myself, do not shrink, do not run, do not delay, do
right,
not avoid,
right,
right? Do not do any of those self-sabotaging things.
right.
Yeah.
Plus, it's nice to know that everything happens kind of at the edge of your comfort zone.
Yes. Yes.
Just
Yes.
It makes me nervous. That's a good sign.
If you're nervous, there's something there. Just name it.
That's it. And we're laughing about it and so, but I think more people need to integrate that concept to to be willing to be nervous.
Be
Be
willing to be
will-
nervous
yeah,
because your nerves are simply a sign that something's happening. Your responsibility and your opportunity is to name what is happening.
yeah,
Are you in a space where you can grow? Like,
yeah,
is this your nerves telling you, oh my gosh, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know? All right. If you don't know, you have an opportunity to grow
right,
and or choose, do I want to grow or do I not want to grow?
right,
Are your nerves telling you, this, my instincts are saying this is bad? And
yeah,
if it's bad, is it really bad or is it just bad for you? Is right
right.
like bad for you right now? Just you have the
You
opportunity
did.
to understand what that is. Like what are your
Right,
nerves telling you? What are your
right,
instincts telling you?
right, right. But to be able to listen to your instincts, um, without just letting them say, "Oh no, no, no. Oh no, 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 no." Listen to your instincts. Is it is it really the right thing to do? Is it really
Yeah.
the wrong thing to do?
Yeah.
And because I think sometimes we can use it to push things away from us.
Yeah.
But when it's our true instincts, the sage part of our
Mm.
instincts, then listen. Maybe it's not the right time to take that promotion. Maybe, oh my God, I wasn't planning on getting a promotion. Uh, maybe I should do it.
Mhm.
Whichever it is, I think t- we should trust our instinct
Yeah.
and and do something. How about that? Just
And
do
do
something.
something. Just and getting to the point, and that's the core of our work, is getting to the point that individuals can not perfectly trust because truth be told, so many of us we've diluted our instincts because we believe what is outside of us. We believe,
Yes,
again, perception that's outside of us. We believe the boxes that we've been put into over many, many, many years. And so you defer to what those things are. Just like I talked about at the beginning, you defer to the judgment that someone had about who you are and your capacity. And so we've turned off that switch that is our gut and our heart and that thing that knows what's good for you and that can hear what's important for you, but has decided to sit down because you've shut it down so many times. So it's not gone. It's just it's sitting there in a chair next to you while
yeah,
you allow those external influences to speak louder.
yeah,
So part of the work that we do in our programs is to support people in building that back up, inviting that perspective to stand up with us until it can come back into us and be us. And you can trust it. Like this thing doesn't want to hurt me. This thing is telling me what's actually good for me. So why don't I want that promotion? Well, I don't want it because I'm scared, or I
right,
might have to travel more because I got that promotion.
right,
I might have to do work that I don't know how to do and I've never done. I might have to manage people and I've never managed people before. That's
right,
why I don't want the job. It's not that I'm just scared of what I don't know. Your
right,
instinct might be screaming that, but you're just like, no, I just don't want that job because it's not the right job for me. Is it really not the right job for you? Listen a little bit more closely. Um, so that there's work there. There's a lot of work there.
absolutely, absolutely. And well, I was going to say, people know how they habitually act. I'm not sure they do all the time.
No, it's a habit. So you don't even know it's a habit. Like how you brush your teeth. Do you brush it up and down or side to side? Like it's a habit. You can't tell me that. If I were to ask you right now, do you brush your teeth up and down or side to side? It's like, wait, let me see. I
I
go
say
like,
yes.
We don't know. That's the whole thing about habits. Habits are
Yeah.
amazing. Like we do all these things and they are all habits, and
Right.
interrupting those patterns is
Yes.
difficult to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Habits are good when they're good habits.
Okay, so I was waiting for you to finish the statement. Like, yeah, they're good.
Habits are great because it gives you time to be creative.
Mm,
So, isn't that, here we are. It's all in understanding uh, that there is no good and no bad. It's how we use it, and allow ourselves to make a mistake and just say, okay, well, that was a mistake. So next time I'll know. Uh, the beauty of making mistakes is that it's a way to learn.
mhm,
Um, but sometimes what you need to learn is to step back and take a look, maybe even be a part of some kind of a group,
mhm,
by the
mhm,
way, where
mhm,
you have other people's influence can be bad, but when you are particular about the group that you pick in terms of these are people that are offering this kind of a help,
mhm,
then use it.
mhm, mhm.
And if that doesn't work, take a look at what you've been doing
Yeah,
first.
yeah. Like you talked about mistakes, and there's that concept of fail fast frequently. I didn't innovate that. That's already out there. Fail
Right.
fast frequently. Why? Because when you're able to get past the feeling of failure, you can get on to the next because there's something that you can use in that fail. There's a learning that comes from rather than calling it a failure. It's get to the next learning.
Oh,
Like,
I'll tell you what you call it. You call it research.
yeah, yeah,
That's what
research.
scientists do. They say, "Oh,
Exactly.
no, that didn't work with that. No, it didn't work with that. Let me try this one." That's that's research. They don't make mistakes.
Yeah. It's in the name of science, you're right.
Well, I think we've solved the problems of the world.
There are no mistakes, there's just research. Just research. But imagine if everyone adopted that thinking, like, oh, I didn't make a mistake in XYZ. It's just research. There'd be so much more forgiveness, so much more
Yes,
personal forgiveness, and
yes,
and releasing part of the stress that a lot of us carry, or stresses that are
yes,
self-imposed. Like
yes,
bashing ourselves for making the same mistakes over and over and over again, or making the different mistakes, and just again the beat down because you made the mistake, it's harder and harder. So
right.
if there were that perspective that it's not a mistake, it's just research. The world needs research. So much more forgiveness in that.
Yeah, I do say that to myself. It's research, and one of the things about research is they don't try to. If it didn't work, it didn't work.
Mhm.
Okay, on to the next thing. What did I learn? I learned this didn't work. So the next substance I use has to be something different.
Yeah.
It's it, it's I like research.
So using the lens, this is the relationship podcast. So using that lens of research, I can only imagine what is possible. And I know I've seen it with a lot of teams when mistakes in like team dynamics, like, oh, you were mean to someone or you were cutthroat to someone else, and it was a mistake and might have been intentional at the time, but you want to recover from it. What would be possible if individuals said, no, this, I didn't mean to show up that way, and I can
Right,
show up differently.
right,
And that research, erroneous research, I
right,
took actions that I didn't want to take.
right,
I can take it back, and I could be something different
right,
if I learn from whatever that is.
right. And sometimes you can save a particular circumstance or relationship, or sometimes you can't.
Hmm.
But you can take that learning
Hmm.
to the next relationship, the next job, the next uh, uh, marriage, whatever,
Hmm.
in any part of your life, and say, okay, I can learn
Hmm.
and do something different. And if you don't know, so I'm getting onto my, if you don't know what to do, here's the answer. Do,
Get some help.
well,
Happy to
even
help.
before that, do something different.
Yeah.
Whatever you've done hasn't worked, so do something different. Frequently, do something different is get some help.
Merle, that do something, it rolls so easily off the tongue. And what I know, and I'm sure you know too, because we're in the same space, is when people have to think about what else they could do, they might be stuck because of that habit. You've been doing the same thing for so long, thinking that you can do something different is like, what can you do different? Like coming up with those ideas could be tough.
Then you need help.
You need help. Need help. Yeah.
And help is something that strong people use and smart people use.
Mm.
I think that's important to know.
I love that you said that. So many times when I'll share about coaching or some of the consulting work that we do, like, well, why do people need coaches? Say, well, I doubt you would ever watch a professional sports team and wonder why they need coaches, right? Like, I doubt anyone watches professional sports teams and wonders why they need coaches. You watch golf and you're like, of course there's a coach. But when individuals think about themselves, they don't necessarily think through the same lens.
Right, right. And if it's not sports, you don't need help.
Mm, exactly. Exactly.
I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. It's, don't you hate when it's slow coming? Okay, go away, go away. Well, I think we solved enough problems. I mean, for one time. We'll have to do it again, solve some more problems. But I think what we've talked about today, I think what you said is really important. And I think what you're doing of not just training or coaching the leaders, but showing them the reason for coaching the the new people that come into their
Hmm.
company.
Hmm.
That um, that's why civilization is made of people of all ages and experiences,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
because all of it's important,
Hmm.
and uh, we need to take the more fragile, which would be the newer people, which would be the younger people, and say, you have something to offer. We have something to offer you, and we're offering it to you because we know you have something to offer us.
Hmm. Hmm. And essentially giving permission to allow that offering to happen. Giving permission and seeing what happens when you give them permission and they have the resources and insight to step into what that role is.
Yeah, yeah, it's exciting, actually. Uh,
It's a fantastic opportunity. We are so excited that we started this year and look forward to continuing it. Working with innovative employers who are willing to take that step and not just put band-aids on top of significant challenges that happen in the organization and deal with them after they've happened, but really be proactive and invest in places so that you're not seeing those same results. the top of your pipeline doesn't match where you want it to be. Investing in places where you can make that change right up front. You can design for success in mind.
What's wonderful is that there are companies there that are not satisfied with how their top line looks, that they want that top line to be more diverse.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's, I don't think that has always been. And I think that that's a part of the painful growth, certainly that United States, I think the whole world is having,
Mm-hmm.
is, you know, it's it's very easy when this group stays here, this group stays here, but when you have radio and television and jets and you can't all stay in one place.
You can.
So, and well, they're interesting, they're exotic, and oh, they're interesting. That's so different. And oh, but I don't know, they're so different. I mean, all the feelings that you have with new experiences, and then to say, oh, let's make use of all these. Um, it's that that concept is scary.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are scared of it,
Mm-hmm.
and yet it's inevitable. Just just adjust the communication things that are going on now. You can't avoid it. We're just a mush.
Yeah, yeah. Merle, there's never any confusion when we're talking about like biodiversity. If you were going to an arboretum, you're like, yeah, I want there to be many different kinds of trees and flowers, and right, because it supports pollination or whatever, whatever story there would be. We understand it when it comes to some very basic principles in nature, but we don't apply it when it comes to what we deal with the most, which is work.
Right.
Like most people work. And in
Yeah.
that place, there is value to all kinds of lenses. Now we're just talking about one lens here. That's what well, actually two lenses here, but there's so many others. They liken the change curve to the grief curve, right? Like the feeling that people feel when there's change. eh,
Because there's some kind of
Models
grief in change.
there is. You are grieving for what is lost and what was and what
Exactly.
worked and what was comfortable, what you got used to.
Exactly.
And that is hard and it's real, right? Like no one ever says, "Oh, hurry up with your grief." No one says that. No one says that. However, when you're in that space, if you have resources to deal with it, and so you can progress and acknowledge and name what's actually happening, like
Yeah.
this is something that's happening to me, and I get to be part of it
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. We're stopping. That's it. We've said it all.
We said it all. Well, Merle, this has been a real treat. I appreciate having this time with you today.
Yeah, it's fun. People, by the way, you can reach Farnia at
Farnia, Farnia, at Lensurf Group, LENSERF group.com.
yes, yes, and go there. It'll be interesting. You'll learn more about Farnia, and you'll know where to contact her because you'll want to. Okay. All right. Thanks, Farnia. I'm
Thank you
gonna
so much, Merle.